Hello everybody, and welcome to my tutorial on Obsidian. Now just what is Obsidian? Obsidian allows you to organize all of or some of your thoughts in a very free flow way, and I find it very useful, so I will show you how to use it and how I use it specifically, like some of the strategies I use. So let's get right into it. So when you first open up Obsidian, this is what it looks like to make a vault. You just give it a name, give it a location, and then we're going to click create. And then it opened up on my other monitor, so let me just drag that over. So there's a new live preview thing you can enable. I'm not going to enable that because I don't like it, but you can. And this is what the default interface looks like. So let's just make a new note. So Control N to make a new note right there, and then we can just give this whatever title we want. So let's say maybe we want to take notes on YouTube. So just give it the name YouTube, and then right in here we can start typing our notes. So we can say YouTube is a video sharing social media platform, and we can just take our notes like that. Now, to go beyond just basic note-taking and going into more of what Obsidian makes, so going beyond basic note-taking and getting into what makes Obsidian special, let's dive into the settings and go into some of the different configuration options you can change and some of the options that I like to enable. So one thing I like to turn off is this readable line length thing, because what that does is it moves the actual margins way over here so there's not a bunch of wasted space. But of course that's just a personal preference. I like to have strict line breaks off. You can just, most of these settings are pretty self-explanatory, so you can just go through them and turn the ones that you want on or off. Spell check is off by default, which if you're terrible at spelling, you're going to want to change. You can do all sorts of things, like you can turn this off if you're an absolute demon and want to indent with spaces instead of tabs. You can turn on Vim key bindings if you're a super elite Vim user. And there's all kinds of stuff like that. But where Obsidian gets really fancy is with the plugins. So you can go turn some of these core plugins on or off. I personally like to turn on which ones are not on by default. The starred one is usually pretty good, but I'm not going to use that in this particular one. But I use it in my main vault. But there are some, like tag pane is not on by default. I like to have tag pane and outgoing links. But of course you can just experiment with all these different plugins to see which ones you like. And then there's community plugins, which we're not going to go into. Maybe I can make another video going over some of the plugins that I use, if you guys want that. There's hotkeys, so you can view all the hotkeys that are bound or change any of them that you want. Like personally, I like to change this keybind from Control E to Shift tilde, because I just find that easier to press than Control E or Alt E, whatever that default one was. So those are some of the settings. Now let's make a new note. So if we make a new note with Control N, let's just make this note on social media in general. And then we can just write whatever we want in here. You know, blah, blah, blah. I'm not actually going to write anything, but if we go back to the YouTube note, you'll see that YouTube is a social media. So what we can actually do is we can actually link these two notes together by putting a set of square brackets around a set of text. We'll turn it into a link that links to that note. So if we press Control click, you'll see it brings us to that note. So it's Control click if you're in the editing view, but if you're in the reading view, then you can just click. And also, I believe if you hover over it in reading view, you can get a preview. Nope. Okay, so that is a setting that you can turn on. That's not on by default. So that's probably under the note. Oh, you know what it probably is? It's probably just... It's probably not showing anything because this note's empty. So let's try that now. Yeah, there we go. So... yeah, back to what we were saying a second ago. If you want to visualize these links, we can open the graph view, and you can see that you can actually see the link between the two nodes, and a very faint line connecting them. If we want to be able to see this graph all the time, such as while we're writing, what we can do is we can expand this out to the side here, so that we have this menu with tag pane, backlinks, and stuff, and we can just drag this icon and put it down here, which is what I like to do. And then move that over like that. And then now we can see our notes as we're working. And so one thing that I like about Obsidian is it is a way to structure your random thoughts. So if your mind jumps all over the place like mine does, Obsidian allows you to properly record all of the jumping around of thoughts that your mind does, and it allows you to easily make a sort of big structure of linked information, so that after you're done going through your random train of thoughts, you're left with a pile of information that is actually useful to you. So if I just started going down, you know, if I just started randomly spewing out thoughts like YouTube, well, YouTube is run by Susan. I'm not going to spell her name right, but we're going to try our best. That's definitely, I would say I'm sorry, Susan, but so we could just make a link to her, and you can see over here in the graph that if you link to a note that doesn't exist, it will show in the graph view, but it will show in a different color, in this kind of gray color. So what you can do is, if you have multiple notes that link to the same non-existent note, then you'll see that, oh, hey, there's a bunch of different notes linking to this idea, so I can click and create this note, and then I have all the notes that are linking to it in order to gather information from, so I know what to fill in for this note. So just right here, we can say Susan Wojcicki, you could say runs, and then we can make a link back to YouTube, and then we can say a bunch of different things, but we're not going to say them because this video is going to be posted on YouTube, so I don't want Susan to destroy me. So, you know, we can go to social media, and we can say that social media links to the idea of a Skinner's box, which is a philosophical or psychological, whatever that correct word is, idea. And then we can go to that, and that is linked to B.F. Skinner, which is the guy who created it. And then you can just see that as we're going down this random train of thoughts, we're actually creating this structure of notes that will actually be useful to build on later, so that it's not actually a waste of time when you're just sitting there thinking about random nonsense. So another way that I like to organize my notes is to give them metadata blocks. So in order to create a metadata block, you just put 3 sets of dashes like this, and you have a little block. And then what you can do is you can put any type of metadata that you want in here. So you can say like foo equals bar, and just anything like that. But there's actually a couple of different metadata tags that you can put that Obsidian will actually pay special attention to. And one of them is tags. So if I start making a list of tags, and then I like to use emojis for tags because they're pictorial and they just are only one character, so they're nice and short. And for notes that are new, that I've just barely started to word vomit into, I like to use this seedling emoji to say that they're still brand new notes. So if we just take this, because all of our notes are seedlings at the moment, so we can easily just copy and paste this little metadata block into all of our notes. Then what we can do is, if we have the tag pane plugin enabled, we can go to the tag pane, and then we can see we have 4 notes with the seedling tag, and we can click on it, and we can see what those 4 notes are. So if you want to start, building out your vault, and you open it up, and you're like, okay, well, where are the notes that definitely need some work? And then you can take a look at them, and you can look through, and you can be like, okay, well, which ones do I feel like writing about right now? What do I feel like I can add to at this moment? And you could be like, oh, okay, yeah, so let's click on, social media. And then maybe like, oh, well, let's make like maybe a list of social media. So you could do headings like this. So it's Markdown syntax. If you don't know Markdown, it's super easy. You just look into it, you'll pick it up pretty quick. So let's maybe list some social media sites. So let's say like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, okay? And then let's say maybe we want to go to Facebook, and, we have Zuck. And if we go to the Zuck note here, when we bring up our metadata here, what we should actually probably do is name this note the proper name of what it is referring to, which is Mark Zuckerberg. And you can see it's asking, do you want to update internal links that link to this file? Usually you do, but in this case we're not going to, and I'll show you why later. So if we create our tags here, we can put our seedling tag in. Oh, whoops, I copied the entire, yeah, that's right, so we should probably just put that in there. And another metadata field that we can put in is aliases. So we can put in a list of things that we want to be able to refer to this note as other than its name. So we can just say Zuck. We could say like the Zuck. We could say Lizard Boy. Then we can say runs Facebook, Instagram, Meta, and more. And then we can go back, so we can do Control Alt right and left arrow to go through our different things. And you can see that this link works now because we set up, or actually no, it doesn't work. So the way aliases work is you have to sort of link them to the alias as you're creating them. So this is how the link will look. Because when you're normally typing a link, you can do the name of the note you want to link to, and then a pipe, and then what you want it to appear in the text as. So if we go to the preview view, then you can see that it shows up as that. So basically, all the alias does is just gives you an easy way to paste this in without having to type it all in manually. Which, you can type it in manually, but if there's a common alias that you're probably going to be referring to that node as often, then it makes sense to set up an alias in the metadata so you can quickly just paste it in like that without having to type it all. Another thing that I like to do to help organize is you can see over here we have these options. So you can change the forces, which change the sort of physics simulation, I guess, of these nodes and how they kind of push each other around, so you can mess with that if you want to. Under display, you can give the links arrows if you care about the direction of the links. You can make the links a little thicker, which I like to do because I find they're a little hard to see sometimes. Maybe it's just on dark theme they're a little harder to see, or maybe I'm just blind. You can also change the node size. A fun little thing you can do is you can click animate, and it'll show you a little animation of all of the notes you've created. So you can kind of see how your vault has grown organically over time, which is pretty fun. But the really powerful thing is you can make groups. So if we click new groups, then we can enter a search query such as tag, and then we can put in a tag, which in this case we're going to make a new tag with a person emoji. So we're going to put tag person, and then what we're going to do is for Mark Zuckerberg, into his tag list, we're going to add the person emoji. And then we're going to select this color, and we're going to make it like this purple color. Pinkish purple, I don't know, I'm colorblind. And then you'll see that if we go to a different note, because the note that we're currently on will be highlighted in yellow, you'll see that that note will become purple. So then if we go over here to Susan Wojcicki, we can give her the person tag too. And now you can see all the people nodes in our vault are highlighted in purple. So it gives us an easy way to sort of see what kinds of things we have going on in our vault just by colors, which is pretty cool. Another graph thing you can do is there's actually a second kind of graph called the local graph. So if you go up here, you can open the local graph, and what that does is, I like to put it right over here in a tab here. You can see that it just shows you a graph of the nodes that are connected directly to the node that you're currently on, which is useful if you have a very dense graph if you've been using Obsidian for a long time. And you can also go to, where is it, filters, and you can change the depth. So by default, it will only show nodes that are directly connected to your current node, but if you want, I like to increase it to 2. You can increase it even more if you want, but in this case, you probably would want to have it at 1, because at this point, since our graph is so sparse, having it set to 2 is basically showing the entire graph anyway. Some nodes are just... No, I think that is actually like the entire graph. It's the same. Yeah, so that is just a really high-level, ultra-fast overview of Obsidian. If you guys want to see some more Obsidian stuff in the future, like how to add images, how to use plugins, more tips on organization strategies, leave it down in the comments, and I'll make another video. But for now, that's going to be it.